Hey, Rich,
Hey, Michael.
and welcome everybody to BitPunch Radio episode 037. Rich, this is our last podcast of the year. So I think what we're going to be doing is just talking about some of our favorite games that we've played this year. Not necessarily games that came out this year, because you and I went back and played games from several years ago. I've been playing Final Fantasy one, so there's
We played all the games that didn't come out this year.
yeah, yeah. Making our top three list was a little interesting because, man, there's just a lot of stuff that just didn't make the cut because it didn't come out this year. So, but yeah, so we've got a list of I don't know how many games here, probably 15 plus, that we just want to cover, talk about, see what has influenced our year. Rich, I slammed some Red Lobster before this podcast. I am ripping.
Ooh,
I am
okay,
ready to go.
okay.
Let's just dive into this list here. We have exactly 15. Yeah, we have 15 games to talk about, and I think we're gonna just try to keep it light. We will do our best. If we are going to make some sort of like, here's how this game ends, or here's why this story beat impacted me, we will try to spoil it, or at least give you the option to skip it and let you know that, hey, we are going to be talking about some of the story beats of this. So
Yeah.
why don't you start?
Um,
Grab a game from this list, and let's talk about it.
okay. Um, I think we have to start kind of where BitPunch kind of began going to video.
Okay.
It's our Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7 is the game that I I don't know if I can't remember at this point if I saw someone else. I think I'd seen somebody else like streaming Village or something like that. And I was like, that would be fun to go through a game like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd kind of pitched it to you as like, I want to play Resident Evil 7, but it's not a game that I would really play by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've never played Resident Evil before, and I was like, let's figure out how to do that. Let's figure out how to. I'll I'm gonna play it on my MacBook through Shadow,
Oh my gosh.
stream it, and we're gonna Discord the video to you, and then we're gonna cut it all together, and it's gonna be great.
Yep.
And at that point, didn't even have our faces on
Nope.
screen or anything. Um, Kind of figuring out what OBS was, and sort of started
I,
down this road.
I was still on my Audio Technica mic from
Yeah.
Resume Play days. It's like
Yep.
a decade old plus.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yep. So yeah, RE7, Resident Evil 7. We That was our first playthrough that we played, beginning to end, uh, on the channel. And man, what a game! What a,
the hell of a game.
I mean, just
You
a
started with one of, like, arguably one of the best horror games that has came
yes,
out in a long time.
yes, yes. I think the and I shouldn't say that I'd never played a Resident Evil game. I think you and I played a little bit of Resident Evil 5,
Mm-hmm.
that Xbox release that was
Mm-hmm.
like a co-op game.
It's like a shooter.
Yeah, very played that very little.
That's when they started to lose, like, what the heart of Resident
Yeah,
Evil is. That was more like a.
man, just from the beginning of how that game starts, you're Ethan, you're looking for your girlfriend, and you get into this like weird, you know, big house mansion thing in like New Orleans. It's got this like True Detective vibe,
Mm-hmm.
season one thing going on. It's just a really good atmosphere. Um, Really, actually, like visually very pretty game.
Yep.
Good story, although it's a little wacky, wacky in like a fun way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's like the like a Resident Evil type of wacky. Um, but I guess that's how I would describe it. Is kind of wacky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Man, Jack like running like those initial like encounters with Jack, and all the kind of dismemberment and things that are happening to you. Like the first like 2 or 3 hours of that game are super solid at like setting a expectation of what you're going to experience as you kind of work your way through this crazy house, with this crazy family. Um, yeah, what a game! What a game to experience that way. I feel, kind of lucky to be able to play through a game like that way, almost like in like a couch setting.
Right.
Like we're just sitting on a couch and I'm playing, you're watching, we're drinking beer and just having a good time.
Yeah.
What a way to experience that.
Yeah.
Spoilers. The grandma thing, like the whole reveal at the end of that game that the grandma is actually the little girl, and like you see this grandma in this wheelchair like throughout the game, and she just shows up in these most random places, just being all creepy.
Just parked like in random corners
just
and stuff.
at the top of the stairs. It's like, how'd she get there? They don't have one of them crazy lifts or anything, just just a crazy ride that game is. Some rough parts. Definitely some of those boss battles were a little rough.
Yeah.
And kind of understanding like when to run and when to fight, and kind of what you can and can't do. And that the very end when you're kind of on the ship is a little repetitive.
Yeah.
Man, what a strong game. I can't wait to play through Village. That's definitely on our list to play through in 2020 on stream, and kind of give it the same treatment. And I can't wait to see where Ethan goes.
I hear
what
it.
could possibly happen.
Man, I hear it's wild. I wish we could have squeezed that game in this year, but life happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, RE7.
yeah, so that's
Fantastic game.
It was really fun to watch you play that. Okay, I think I'll start with Outriders. So
Yeah.
Outriders is pretty special to me only because of like my unique situation where coming off like some personal stuff, I was playing. What was I playing? I was playing Dragon Quest 11, and I was playing Final Fantasy 12, and Outriders hit Game Pass in April. I think it was April. And I was like,
Yep.
oh, I'm just looking for something that's. I don't really give a shit about the story or what's going on. I tried playing Control, and I was just not in the right headspace for that. I was like, okay, this is something that I really need to focus on, and I'm not looking for that right now. I just want to shoot stuff and have the ability to every now and then play with you. And
Right.
Outriders was like perfect for that. It was just okay. It was just a very much like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, it was solid.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it had some network issues in the beginning. It was one of those kind of service games.
Oh, it crashed. The ending
We
crashed on
definitely
me.
had some bugs, but
Yeah.
like, it was fun
Yeah.
in kind of a B game kind of way,
Yes.
kind of a B movie B game kind of way.
Yeah, they don't really come out with many of those anymore. Maybe a dozen or something that kind of stick out. That's like, oh, that was okay. And Outriders was definitely that. I finished that game.
That's crazy.
And I had a good time with it. I think me and you played it one night with a couple of your buddies, and that was fun. I think it was solid. Like it was. I don't know if I'll go back to it. Maybe if they. I know that they just released some DLC for it because I noticed the box art change, so they're still invested in it, which is cool. But I don't know how much legs that game has, but overall I thought Outriders was pretty fun. But man, there's so many other games that I would recommend you to play. It just, for me, it was right time, right place. I had Game Pass there day one. All I had to do was press install, able to play it. And
Yeah, it's a really good kind of example of what Game Pass is good for.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not buying that game
No.
for $60 in any other world, right?
no.
But it's kind of the perfect Game Pass game. It kind of hit big. It was real big with
Got a
kind
lot of
the gaming
buzz.
community for about 2 or 3 weeks.
April was kind of dead. So
Yeah. No, it's a solid game. I'm sure they're gonna make another one or expand on that one
Yeah.
in some way. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, it definitely captivated people enough to warrant some sort of, either they'll do an Outriders 2 or, and really like the skill system I was using, I thought that was fun. I was like a tank and I was just running in there, just like just punching people to death, you know, like barely shooting. I ran around with a shotgun, so I was barely shooting people. And like when me and you were playing, you're just like, my gosh, you're just barreling through
Yeah, I mean,
people.
that was part of the problem with like the technical issues because your guy would like go in and just explode, and like all the particles and like all the explosions, like my game would just like die. Like it was just
Yeah.
like, nope, nope,
Was that a
can't do that.
shadow game for you?
No, it was a Xbox game.
Okay. I didn't know if you
The
played that
Xbox
on
One.
Shadow at all or not.
Nope, nope,
Okay.
not that one. Yeah.
All right. And that was
All
Outriders.
right, let's see here. Um, I think I want to talk about. You already kind of mentioned it. My favorite game I played this year, Control.
Okay.
Um, so I played Control the Ultimate. I think it's called the Ultimate Edition.
All right.
I bought it on the like Thanksgiving Steam sale for like $5 or something ridiculous. It's kind of the updated version with ray tracing and has both of the DLCs, which I haven't played yet. Um, it's made by Remedy, so Max Payne, Alan Wake, kind of fame. And I liked Alan Wake. I don't have any kind of affinity for Max Payne at all, but man, Control is such a great game, just in every facet, from the story, the voice acting is some of the best, and just the acting is some of the best that I've seen in a very long time. Um, just the way that it's kind of shot, like almost like the kind of cinematography of it is really good. The atmosphere, it's like this weird kind of modern play on X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's got that kind of weirdness of Alan Wake, but kind of in a better way than Alan Wake.
Were you a fan
Um,
of X Files?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a. I've never seen it.
really,
I know
really,
of what it is, but I've never.
yeah.
I've never seen an episode
It's
of it.
got an X-Files ish vibe. It's not exactly X-Files, but it's got this weird kind of supernatural vibe to it, that is just great. Um, the uh, the world you're in is like this big building that is, it's, what is it called? It's called the crap. It's the Federal Bureau of Control, but I can't. Called the Oldest House is the name of
Oh, okay.
this crazy building, and it's this building like in New York that you can only find if you like you're meant to find it. And like
Mm.
inside this big building, it's like shifting around. It's like supernatural Willy Wonka in there. Um, and like just exploring that building and that world is super cool. It's very dense. It's one of those very kind of like Arcane or like Oblivion, very dense game with a lot of like visual storytelling or world building storytelling going on, with kind of what's happening, to the bureau when you get there. You play as Jesse Faden. She comes in and you become the new director of the bureau through some events that happen. Um, the combat is really good. It just gets better as you go,
Mm.
as you get more abilities. Um, I love the story. Just everything about it is so good. Everyone, anybody that likes a third person kind of shooter action game should play that game. It is very good. It's not that hard. It doesn't throw a bunch of crazy boss fights at you. Um, I could probably see like some people getting bored with the combat, like if you didn't kind of branch out and kind of use a lot of the powers
Mm.
that you unlock. But man, I just loved everything about that game. I couldn't put it down. I played straight through it, and that's I wish I could play more of it. I really do. And I want to play the DLC. I've heard it's not great.
Really?
The second DLC is actually an Alan Wake tie-in, um, which is interesting because they just
Mm.
announced a new Alan Wake game. So yeah, Control. Everybody should play Control.
That is
It's a
on
fantastic game.
the vanilla
Super pretty.
game is on Game Pass, right?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. And if you're someone who has a gaming computer and you've heard the words ray tracing and you don't really maybe get like the whole point of it or like what it's all cracked up to be, go download Control, turn on ray tracing. It's the perfect example of why that's
Okay.
such a cool technology. It does a lot of good things with lighting and reflections and all that stuff. It is so damn good. So damn good.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't play that when it came out.
Yeah, I have this 3070 now, and I haven't thrown anything at it. Even my wife asked me today. She was just like, "So how are you liking your computer?" And I'm like, "Well, I really haven't done anything. I'm pretty sure I played Halo on medium still." I went back and looked, and I was just like, "Huh, this is still set kind of low."
Yeah.
I should be able to play that on max settings. Like I shouldn't have any
I
issues
would
with
say
that
pretty close.
because I'm
You
not
might
doing
have to drop
4K.
it.
I'm not doing 4K, so
Yeah, with the 3060 Ti, I had to drop it in the open world a little bit to get it to run 60. But you may be able to. Yeah. But yeah, Control, fantastic. Just edging out another game. I think is my favorite game. Maybe it's a tie. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth.
How long was that?
Oh boy, I want to say like 12-ish hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to like only find a couple games. I'm gonna like do my best. We'll see. To not play like long ass games because I've played a lot of them this year, and it's like I missed out on a lot. You know, a lot of games that I would like to play that are sub 10 hours. So
Yeah.
I know, Bethesda's new game will take over in November, and Warhammer's coming out in February, so that's probably locked down for that. But and then I think Obsidian's is it Avalon? I think that comes out next year too, which is supposed
Avowed?
to be maybe Avowed. Yeah, something like that.
Avowed. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that's got some sort of release date of next year. Like nothing locked in, but okay. So we've got Control. Let's talk about let's keep it older. Let's talk about Yakuza.
Oh boy.
Rich, I've played a lot of
Mute my mic. I'm gonna mute
Okay,
my mic.
go ahead. Just let me riff.
15 minutes.
Okay. I fell into Yakuza this year. I have finished Yakuza 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. I have probably played about 150 hours of Yakuza this year. And it's probably more than that. Yakuza 0 is a perfect game.
Ooh.
It is just I knew of a character.
I didn't know it had Geralt in
it. Yeah. He's probably in there somewhere. Some sort of like he's resting on someone's
Winslow.
Yeah. So I knew that Kiru, like you only really see him, even though there's always the guy with the eye patch, and you're just like, I don't know who that is. So playing Yakuza 0, first time I played it, I fell off of it right during the fighting. I was just like, nope, I'm not looking for a brawler. No, thank you. But, just being off work and stuff, I was like, okay, there's too many people that are like recommending this game. I got to see like what it's all about. I'll at least play through a couple chapters. And I think it was like chapter 3 or chapter 4, where they pivot and they drop you in this other like section of the map. It's another like city, and you're playing as a different character. And so you're jumping back and forth between Kazuma and Goro Majima. And the tone of that game when you're playing as Majima, just the ridiculousness of it. I mean, he's like running this cabaret club, and he's probably making all kinds of money, but he takes on this like really weird mission to go help this girl, and he just gets entangled in all of this stuff. And the cool thing is if you've played the Yakuzas up to this point, you know of him because he's been in the Yakuza games. But I started with Zero, so I was kind of getting to know these characters from like their beginnings, you know. And Kiryu's story starts with he was in jail for a decade, and then he comes out and he just gets right back into being a shitbag. So he's not really a shitbag. He means well. But I probably played 30 hours of that game. I could have played 100 hours of that game. There's so many different side stories and stuff that I skipped. Because to me, I was just like, I just want to get through the story and see what this is like. I will probably play Yakuza Zero again. I think I really loved Like a Dragon and the direction they're going with it with the turn-based battles, but I think Yakuza Zero it was just great, man. There was just so many good things about it. It was so funny. Just some of the side characters, when I see pictures of them like on Reddit or something, it just brings me back to like experiencing their little, you know, they do these things called sub stories, which are like your side missions, and there's like 60 of them in that game, and like all the games that come out, there's always like a good chunk of them. But man, it was fun. It's off Game Pass now. 0, 1, and 2 is leaving, I think, now. If they're not already gone. But it's so good. That series definitely drags. I was really having a hard time getting through 4. I really don't have a desire to play anymore right now. I kind of burnt myself out. But I'm excited for 8 to see where they're going to take this new character and what they're going to do with him and his little posse. Yeah. Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. I streamed a lot of Yakuza this year.
Yeah, every time I would drop in on you, you were either playing some ridiculously like complicated Hot Shots golf simulator, or you were hitting people with bicycles.
Yep, that is
And
that
I was
game.
like, what is he doing? Why? What are we doing?
It was so fun. Yeah, if I was going to revisit one again, it would be Yakuza Zero. I really liked Like a Dragon. I wish I played that last year. That would have probably been my game of the year. It was so fun, so funny, and it drags. They all tend to do that though. They just overstay their welcome a little bit. Like Yakuza Zero with like that one was just the best, man. It was really fun. Yeah. You know if those games are for you. I know they're not for you, but
Yeah, I tried to start playing Zero, and I kind of did what you did the
yeah.
first time you played Zero. I was like, nope, this combat, I don't want to do this.
Nope.
I don't want to do this. This is way too much dialogue for me right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
It's a lot of talky.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and that's what people rag on the older Metal Gear games. You know, Metal Gear 5 is not like this. I still wholeheartedly think you need to play Metal Gear 5. But if you go back and play 1 through 4, they're very, very talky. I mean, 4 has a 90-minute cutscene in it. It's wild. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, that was Yakuza 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, Like a Dragon.
Okay. So, a handful of these games have kind of hit my radar here very recently. Over the holidays, I was lucky enough to get COVID and be stuck in my basement for 10 days, away from my family. Nobody else in my family got COVID, so I was quarantined to the
during
basement.
Christmas,
during Christmas,
all of it.
Luckily, got to work from home, but watched a lot of Netflix, read a lot of books, but also played a lot of games that I'd kind of had on a list. One of those games is called Satisfactory.
Okay. I know nothing of this game.
Okay. This is in early access. It's been out a little while.
Okay.
A couple years. It is a factory building like simulation game. It's very much a sim. You play as this kind of unnamed character in like a first person view. You're dropped onto a planet and you just start building a factory. and you have to send stuff back up into orbit that are production items out of that factory. So you collect trees, and then you make a smelter, and then you do this, and then you do that, and then you so kind of the way that this works is this is like a production engineer's like wet dream, like anybody that works at a factory, like an actual factory.
Yeah,
So
but
like
are
a lot.
people that are working at factories want to go home and build factories?
Oh man, I don't know. So this game is very much like, okay, I'm gonna build a machine to mine iron, and it's gonna give me iron ore, and then I need to place a conveyor belt from that machine into a smelter that will then smelt the iron ore into iron ingots, and then I need to get those iron ingots to a constructor, which can take those iron ingots and turn them into metal plate, and maybe I need 50 metal plate. And so I get that all set up, and I get it all going, and you can automate a lot of it. But there's some pieces of it you can't automate. It's like, all right, you got 50 plate. Now get me 50 iron bars and 50 metal plate. So it's like, okay, those both need iron ingots, so I need to make 2 conveyor belts from the smelter and take iron ingots to 2 different constructors and make 50 metal rods and 50 metal plate. And it's like, okay, now go set up this whole other factory and start mining copper. Okay. And then it'll be like, no, come back to your iron factory and start making reinforced metal plate, which you need screws, which take iron ingots and metal rods. And so you end up with this like crazy tree, essentially, like branching tree of like from the source where you're mining this stuff, just branching out in order to construct all these different things. And the kicker of all this is on each machine, and within the game it'll tell you how efficient your machine, your assembly line is, essentially. And so in order to get it all efficiently running, and you have to power all this stuff too. There's power load. Each machine takes a certain load of power, like in kilovolts. So I have a spreadsheet that calculates how much power I need to run a factory, and how much of each item I need to run through to make a specific item at 100% efficiency, and do all these calculations. Like I have an Excel sheet for this video game to do all this. And me being an engineer, I kind of fell into this in a very bad way. And the game essentially gets to a point where your power needs become so high. And in the early game, the only way you can make power is to like get wood and like biomass, which is just like leaves, and like having enough power to run it is that's all I'm doing is just running around and chopping down trees and like collecting leaves and throwing them in this fucking compactor thing. And I got to the point to where it's like, all right, you've unlocked like coal. It's like, well, shit, I got to rebuild this whole factory because the coal is like 2 miles over here. Like I got to get the coal all the way from there over to here, and the coal factory needs water. There's no water anywhere near there. So I felt I just it was one of those games where I looked up and it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, what am I doing? And played it for like a couple more days, and then like got to that point where I needed to like, and I had already rebuilt my factory like 5 times, because you kind of start off and you don't really know what you're doing, and then you figure some shit out, and you're like, oh no, wait, let me sit down.
I got to
I'm
rebuild all. Yeah.
sketching out different ideas. I got this Excel sheet, spent like an hour on this Excel sheet. I'm like, all right, here's exactly what I need to do, and then get it all together. Like, yeah, 100% efficiency. Just sitting here, just
Watching the
sitting back
numbers.
with my feet up, watching these screws just go down this conveyor belt, baby, at a perfect,
See, I had that
rhythm.
same sensation when you are like sketching out your world in city skyline.
Yeah,
And once like you start going down that path of like, oh, I put a factory next to some residentials. Well, shit, I gotta redo this entire street. And then it's just like at that point, it's
yep,
just like, what am I doing?
yep. So that's essentially what happened. I got to that point to where it was like, all right, you gotta completely redo all this. Switch over to coal power if you really want to kind of move forward. And I was just like, I have to stop. Like I can't keep doing this. Like I want to keep doing it, but I have to stop now. I can't do it anymore. Like, God. And I think if it wasn't for the power requirements, like if I could have, I'm sure I could have modded it, and because there's a ton of mods, I'm sure I could have modded it, just got rid of the power requirements. Because in the early game, it's just kind of a pain in the ass. Like it's not even fun,
Mm-hmm.
like setting all that up. It just sucks. Um, at a certain point. But man, what a game that is. Maybe we'll stream. Maybe we'll do like a grab bag,
Yeah.
and we can hop back into my factory and you can see the crazy shit that I've got going on in there. Because I wanted so bad to show it to you because I just felt you'd be like, oh God,
Oh,
Rich,
jeez.
what happened?
Poor COVID's getting
What
to you. It
happened
hit
to
you
you?
hard.
Yeah. Poof.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Is that anything? And I could be like Rift Breaker. Is the idea of Rift Breaker and Satisfactory kind of hitting that same vibe?
Maybe to some extent, but Rift Breaker is much more a combat game. Since you're
Oh,
getting
okay.
attacked. Like in this, in
Okay.
Satisfactory, you're not getting attacked. There are some little animals that can attack you, but there's not like, to my knowledge, like weather or like tornadoes or stuff that's
Gotcha.
gonna kill your factory. It's just a pure management sim, factory building, fucking disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yep.
All right. Let's talk about Mass Effect a little bit.
Yepper.
So, Shepard, I finished the first Mass Effect game and thought that the Legendary Edition did that game so well. It made a lot of improvements to it. I thought the driving around the Mako was fine. Um, I actually prefer my gun being on a cooldown versus playing 2 where I'm hunting for ammo.
Right. Yeah.
I just thought that first Mass Effect was so good.
It is,
And
man.
jumping,
It's got that. Yeah, it's got that vibe.
it really does. And I know technically 2 is a better game, but I probably put 5 or 6 hours into 2 and got to the point where I was scanning planets, and then I was just like, I'm good. I'm good. Like I remember this being a fun game. I don't need to play it again. But
Do you remember when that
man,
game launched and we were running the website and the scanning tool was so slow that it would take you like 5 minutes to like fully orbit
oh yeah,
the
it's
planet as you were
on
like
2.
scrolling that thing. Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
still
then they came out
slow,
like, well, they came out like 2 weeks later and like doubled it, and everybody was like, "Oh my god!"
but it's
this is
still
so
slow though.
bad." Yeah, yeah, yeah. You shoot those little probes.
Yep.
Yeah,
And it's fun, but I didn't feel I kind of lost that like, well, I don't feel the need to go through and play this again.
yeah. I think the thing that I loved about too is how it starts.
Yeah,
You
I did
kind
go
of,
through all that.
yeah, you kind of lose everything. The elusive. I think the elusive man is a cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
All the characters and your kind of squad are really cool. Like Thane, I really remember liking Thane. Um,
More
you know, Morden obviously. But yeah, that first game does. It just has that hard sci-fi
mm-hmm.
atmosphere and just kind of really leans into it in like a really good way. Man, I bought Mass Effect Andromeda during one of the Steam sales because it's like $2. I kind of secretly want to see like what is going on there because I love Mass Effect. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite series of all time, and I've never played that game because it was
Right.
like unplayable.
Right. I played a handful of hours into that game. And the setup of it is pretty cool. Like I don't want to get into it, but it's kind of you're trying to colonize a planet to live on it because the
Right,
planet you're
right.
coming from is fucked. Man, that was it starts good, but I just don't think it was doing anything new, and I don't think the characters were that interesting. So I think with them getting all the bugs out of it, there's a solid game there. But I think if you try to put it towards the story of the shepherd, it's just not that interesting,
Yeah, just
Um,
and that was one of the maybe it was or wasn't, but it was one of the first kind of AAA games to kind of take your saves and like take your character
Mm-hmm.
through all those games and all those choices. That was a pretty cool thing. Um, even though sometimes like that Renegade or Paragon stuff was a little maybe too black and white.
Right.
Um, man, yeah, those are fantastic games for sure.
And if there's a lull in 2022, maybe I'll pick back up on Mass Effect 2, or maybe just jump to 3, because I think 3, I actually don't quite remember much about that one. Where 2, I've played, I think I've played through that game twice already.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just wanting to go through it again. And maybe it was just coming off of 1 straight into 2. Maybe I needed to give it a little bit more of breathing room, but gosh, that first game is so good. And just the improvements and running off that new engine and stuff, it just dude, that was a hell of a game, and I loved it. But yeah, so that's it for Mass Effect.
All right, I'm gonna stick with the. Is it a video game simulation? Weird, rich engineering game. Uh, Hardspace Shipbreaker. Let me make sure that is the name of that damn game.
Okay, hold on. So as you're doing your thing,
Yeah.
so your Discord is set up to show what you're playing. And I got on there to message you some bullshit like we do every day.
Yeah.
And I see you playing a game that I'd never heard of. At least I don't think I have. But the name was so stupid. Hardspace Shipbreaker. And I was like, God, he's ran out of stuff to play at this point. He is playing Hardspace Shipbreaker.
So I guess the easiest way that I can explain this to you is this is a Vinny game. Okay.
Okay.
The same with Satisfactory. Very Vinny game.
Okay.
Vinny of Nextlander fame.
Sure.
Uh, in this game, you just tear apart spaceships. That's all it is.
Okay.
You there now. I shouldn't say that. There is like a little story happening with characters that are talking to you, and it's actually kind of interesting. So the way this starts, and I want to stream the beginning of this game because it's pretty funny. Um, the kind of setup for this is like Earth is totally fucked, and like the next big like tech grab or like money grab is going to be to salvage all these fucking spaceships that everybody's been trashing trying to get away from Earth. And so this corporation is going to do this, and but they need people to cut them apart. They just can't trash them whole because they want to get all these bits and pieces out of them that are valuable and chuck some of the rest of it, right? Kind of like recycling it, like picking it apart, recycling certain bits. And so they have these people called cutters who go up and like plasma cut these things apart. And the way that it's presented to you is like in this really shitty corporation way. It's like, oh, you're gonna make so much money, all this stuff. And, it's because nobody wants to fucking do it because it's really dangerous. And so you sign up for it as the player, and the entire game so far it starts showing you. It's like, okay, it straps you into like this medical thing in first person view. It's like, okay, for you to be able to go out and do this, we need to like replicate you. So we're gonna take your DNA and make a copy, right? And we're just gonna destroy your old body. Fucking that thing's fucked. Like we're gonna make a copy and we're just gonna destroy this whole body. And the whole time all this like setup is happening, it's showing your debt, right? And so in order to get into this program, you have to go through this DNA thing, which costs you money, and then you have to get all your equipment and like your ride out to space on the space elevator or whatever. And like so by the time they get you like set up to start learning how to cut stuff, you're $200 billion in debt. And so every morning and every ship you cut apart, you make money, right? So you might make like 200 or 300K on some of these early ships. But if you die and they have to use another copy, or if you destroy parts in some way, they charge you. And so at the end of every shift, you wake up and it's like Uh, it's really funny. Like this like Siri AI wakes you up out of your bed at like 6 a.m. every morning, and it's like you only get your allotted 8 hours of sleep. You anything more will cost you extra. And like every morning it shows you like how much you made the previous day, against like what you spent and what you earned on what you salvaged. And it's just really funny. It's got a really good like kind of vibe and like attitude. And it's got this really great like old time cutter guy that's got a real southern accent, and he's kind of showing you the ropes and stuff and showing you how to cut these things apart, and he's a company man and all this stuff. And then you have all these other cutters that are like your other employees that you're with, like in your department. And like one of them, like on the third day, calls you and she's like, "So we got this little thing. We're not really calling it a union, but it kind of
Oh,
is," and
geez.
like all this stuff, and like trying to go against the Lynx Corporation, who is this corporation. But the actual game itself is literally you pick a spaceship from a list, it puts it in this little bay, and you go out and you just cut it apart. And it kind of teaches you the most effective way to kind of cut it apart. And it literally shows you like on a graph like how much of it you've been able to salvage. And then it rewards you if you're able to get, and all these little pieces have to go in, like some have to go into like a furnace, and some have to go into like a processor, and some have to go into a barge. And trying to get and extract all these pieces out is really fun. Then it starts adding like fuel lines and like nuclear reactors that you have to like work around. So it's very much like engineering. I'm an engineer. Like, okay, in order to get this thing apart, here's what I got to do. I got to cut this piece off, and then I'll do this, then I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where am I at? I mean, I started playing this game, I don't know, a couple days ago. I'm 7 hours into that game. Back to Satisfactory. I've got 30 hours into Satisfactory, and I mean, it's bad.
Oh my gosh.
I like Hardspace Shipbreaker better, though. It is like put a podcast on, and we're just gonna cut some stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna cut this spaceship apart and listen to some podcasts and just have a good old.
Yeah, I love a good podcast game,
I definitely want to stream that one too, for sure.
Okay.
Especially the beginning of it. Yeah.
Sounds like another good grab bag game. Yeah, this last one we were playing, Firewatch, man, that didn't make my list because we haven't finished it yet. But yeah, that's been really fun. So I'm gonna stream that again at some point. But
yeah, we need to get through that because
yeah,
boy, does that game go some places.
Yeah. Let's talk about Final Fantasy for a little bit. I won't stay on this too long, but I've played this year. I've played Final Fantasy 12 and Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the Pixel remasters. So the sixth one was supposed to come out this year. It got pushed to February, and I guess they're doing some extra work to it.
So was 6 the last one that was the pixel style before 7? Is that why 7 is like so revered?
7 was because it was on PlayStation, so it was the first PlayStation game, and it was the first when they made the switch, because Final Fantasy 1 through 6 were Nintendo,
right,
and then they switched to Sony and then made 7, and it's like one of the best Final Fantasies of all time. So, shit on Nintendo for that. Final Fantasy 5, I fell off of it really hard. I used to think that was like one of my favorite ones, and turns out that game's kind of full with a lot of bullshit. So,
do you feel like you have less of a affinity for those games now that you went back and played them again?
I still think Final Fantasy 4 tells a really cool story. It's not anything like mind blowing, but at the time, playing a Super Nintendo game with like a fun story to it was like, there's not that many games that does that. And if they do, they're probably RPGs, Like, I guess you could say like Metroid might tell a pretty cool story, but it's not dense like an RPG is trying to tell its story. No, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster 5 was just, there's a lot of sections in that game where if you don't have your party spec'd out right, you're just gonna get shit on. And I remember at the time when I first played it, when it was re-released on PS1 or PS2 or wherever that came out. I really liked it, but just my tastes have changed, and I just don't have any interest in that. So I really liked playing through 1, 2, 3, 4, but I have no. I'm probably 20 hours into 5. I won't finish that game. I'm done.
Mm.
And I do want to play through 6 because it's telling a pretty cool story. Final Fantasy 5, it it does not. It's really like another one of those 1, 2, 3, like we're the 4 warriors of light, and we gotta take out the guy that's trying to steal all the crystals. Final Fantasy 4 was telling that story, but the characters and how they interacted with each other were the most interesting parts. And seeing like Cecil go through being a dark knight and then turning to like a white knight, that was cool. But no, the Pixel remasters, I've had a lot of fun with them. I've probably played 50 plus hours of them this year, and yeah, they've been really cool games. They're podcast games, you're grinding in them. So there's
Right.
times where I'll just put on a Nextlander or whatever I'm listening to, and just hold hold a direction on the D-pad
Auto
and
battle.
let auto battle go, man. I think that's why I liked Super Auto Pets, because
Yeah, that was another one of those games that I would like sneak in and kind of watch you, and you're just sitting there,
just yeah,
just watching this battle play out, like not doing any input.
yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't
It's
get it.
no, yeah. It's just it was pure nostalgia. Like going through those games was just pure nostalgia, because like auto battle wasn't a thing. You had to strategize every single fight. But now with this, like it just makes it to where fights are just going pretty rapidly, and then you're getting overpowered. So then you're just kind of like barreling through those games. But yeah, I can't wait to play 6. But 5 is no longer in my top 10. Maybe I'll sub out Yakuza Zero for that or something.
Yeah, yeah. Oh boy, what to talk about next? Um, hmm.
Hey, let's talk about Valheim.
Okay, let's talk about Valheim.
I, that game could not. I couldn't. It wouldn't grab me. And I
I
think
feel like we need to play that game together.
I
I
think
don't
we
think we played
do.
that game.
No.
Yeah, yeah, we didn't play it together. That game was actually what made me want to get Shadow, because it was a PC only game,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have a PC, obviously, so I played that on my Mac through Shadow, and it played fine.
Right.
But man, that was one of those like oil in the pan, like kind of caught fire, like they caught
Yeah.
lightning in a bottle, and man, that thing was just the hottest thing in gaming for like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was playing that game, and I really felt so bad for that studio, because I think it's a very small studio, and because that many it came out in early access. Um, I think it was $20 or $25 or something like that, but I mean it made a ton of money, and with that comes a lot of
Oh
expectations
my
about
gosh, yes. Could you imagine?
with it being kind of a crafting survival game. It's kind of set in like a Viking kind of
Could you
motif with third
imagine
person.
being their marketing guy, opening up his email at 8 a.m.
Oh, dude, they
or
don't
her
have the
email?
marketing guy is like it's like three. It's like one of three people in
Yeah,
the
it's
whole studio.
the lead dev and marketing guy and music producer.
I mean, you had all these players, wanting all this different like cosmetic stuff and all this stuff, and they put out this roadmap pretty early on, and that kind of went downhill pretty quick. Like they didn't really hit their dates. I think they did release like the Hearth and Home update, which was supposed to be the first update. And I think I even read some articles from those developers, just like, yeah, we were not like prepared for just and squashing bugs and like making the game better, and then
Right.
add all this content on something they probably spent God knows how many years making. But it is a great game. It is really fun. It's fun to explore that world. It's fun to build with. Um, the kind of it kind of captures that Minecraft, like I'm gonna get a group of like 4 people together and we're just gonna go get up to some shit and like go exploring and stuff and like have some crazy moments.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go out on this, go out on a ship or go explore the dark woods or whatever they're called, and get into some shenanigans and just have some fun kind of gaming moments together. I really like that game. I fell off it pretty hard um, after some of my friends quit playing. I don't think it's a game I would want to play by myself. Um, but yeah, we should maybe check it back in on that.
Okay. Yeah.
At some point. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I just
Valheim.
it
That's
was.
one of those games. Like, man, that came out this year? That was this year. Like,
Is
that
this
was,
still early access technically, or?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
It's weird that they're releasing DLC for an early access game.
Look at the Steam store page. I think that it is. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
So, yeah, I was trying to play that alone, and I just didn't really have an idea of what to do. And I remember
It is early access.
I was trying to build like a shack because that's like one of the first things you want to do, and I just couldn't do it right. Like there's a very specific process, and I just wasn't figuring it out. Like,
yeah. The building in it kind of, you have to have a structurally sound building. You got to keep the rain out so your fire will keep going. And you got to have a chimney so the smoke doesn't kind of choke you off like that. I remember that being a moment that a lot of people really liked. It's kind of that immersive sim of, oh, I'm going to build this, 4 walls and a roof. I'm going to put the campfire in there, and then they would sit in there and they would die because they would die of smoke inhalation. It's like, oh, no, I'm going to build a freaking chimney to get the smoke out.
Wow. So it's that
and
specific. Yeah. And maybe
that
that's what it
kind of
was.
game. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I think that's why people kind of gravitated toward it. It's kind of like in a Zelda Breath of the Wild kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
In that. And man, that game is really pretty too. It's got a good art style, some really, really pretty art for a randomly generated kind of world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like it looks like an old PlayStation 2 game though.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, we'll have to check that back out because I at least want to make it to a boss because I know that there's like some big enemies, and so it's like let's at least get to that point just so I can see what this game is, because I still don't have any idea of really what I'm doing in that game. So okay, I'm playing Guardians of the Galaxy right now. I could see this game probably being one of like my favorite games I've played this year, but when we were putting our list together, I have not finished it. It is my I have the week off, so I'm going to try to play through this. I think I'm on chapter 10, and I think there's 16 chapters in the game.
Okay.
It's really pretty. I'm playing it on an Xbox One S on a 4K TV. So it is doing the HDR up-res and as much as it can, and it looks pretty fucking good. I will say that.
Yeah, if you haven't, you should go watch Digital Foundry's kind of recent video on Guardians of the Galaxy. It is one of the more technically impressive games that they felt of this year. That is one. It's kind of a shame. You can't play it on your PC.
I know. Yeah. Every time I boot it up and it like I'm in a fight and it starts getting a little bit framey, I'm like, I just look at just like, man, my computer though, it's like right there, and it would run it.
Yeah, that's another one of those games they went back and implemented ray tracing, and it's got some of the better ray tracing in it.
Some of the levels, I mean, they're just so good looking.
Yeah.
A lot of color, a lot of different like visual elements to it, and they're all unique looking. I think I thought Halo suffered from that a little bit, where it felt like you were going through the same corridors like over and over. And no, I don't feel like that with Guardians. It's a really fun story. Feels really good to play. It's funny. They do not stop talking, and they do it, like it gets to a point where they overlap each other and they're cutting each other off, or it's supposed to be like, well, Gamora was supposed to talk and then Rocket was supposed to talk, but as Gamora is talking, like because I play with subtitles. I know I'm a monster, but you'll see like both their subtitles start overlapping and they're just like talking over each other, and it's like, okay, it's missing the mark there a little bit. But that game is just really really fun, and it does a lot. I mean, it's there, you're making like Mass Effect level decisions on stuff, and it's affecting later on. So what they'll do with that, and I ended up looking it up because I just wanted to know, like, okay, if I've made this decision, what is this really going to do? And they do it in like interesting ways. So it's like, this might be a slight spoiler. I won't get into the actual story beats, but it's like you'll meet like a character, and she is like giving you dialogue options, and depending on the dialogue options, later on in the story, she might upgrade your ship to make it more powerful, so you have an easier ride through chapter 14 or something like that. So
Yeah,
that's
I'd
what's
heard
kind of
it.
happening.
Yeah, I'd heard it described as Uncharted with some like Mass Effect in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and it does have those moments where it's like, okay, you got to have Groot build the bridge, and then you're going to send Rocket up to the door to unlock it. And while he's doing that, you got to use your Gamora to swing you to this place, and then Drax has to use his muscles, and you're like controlling everyone to do this. That gets a little tedious. It makes it feel a little padded. Um, but it's got the Batman vision thing, so
Mm.
you are collecting stuff along the way to upgrade all your different characters and some of your abilities, and your shield and that kind of stuff. There's different currency. There's two different currencies you're collecting, um, outside of like your skill points that you're getting, that you can drop onto Gamora or Drax or somebody. Man, there's a lot going on in this game. It's not complicated at all, but it's just a really good one of those. Really, really fun, and I think they've done a tremendous job. If you like Guardians of the Galaxy, you're probably gonna like this game. I want to see what other properties they can do this with, because I'm sure this took them a while to build. I mean, like I said, there's a lot going on, probably 2 or 3 years, if not more. But I'd like to see them do this with other properties. But it's fun.
And this was Eidos, right?
Yeah,
Eidos Montreal.
Montreal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think that's one of the surprises of the year for
Mm-hmm.
sure. I think a lot of people saw that when it was announced and really poo-pooed on it. Like, oh, here comes
That's
their
a cash
Avengers.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, like, yep, because the Avengers game people really didn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember
That
the initial showing, people really didn't like it.
that's what I was about to say. If you play Avengers, the Kamala bits at the beginning where she's like geeking out on the Avengers is cool, and then it turns into generic, just like Outriders in a way. It's just kind of like one of those generic games where it's like it's fine, um,
Right.
but it's nothing really special. So, but yeah.
Okay, let's see here. What's next?
How many we got left?
Um,
One, two,
uh,
3, 4. We got 5 left.
yep, yep. All right. Let's talk about Death's Door.
Okay.
So Death's Door is a kind of action adventure game, very much inspired by kind of classic Zelda,
Mm-hmm.
with a little bit of kind of some what the kids now call Souls light
Yeah.
stuff in it, like very precise combat, very um, I guess some Dark Souls influences. Um, you play as this little crow who whose literal job from his little office, his little crow office, is to go out into through these doors and correct souls and bring them back. And that's kind of his job. He goes out, collects these little souls, and brings them back. And the start of this game is you go to get a soul, and it gets stolen from you. And if that happens, you get stuck on the other side. And you got to get it. You got to get that soul back, and it kind of starts you down this whole path. This game came completely out of nowhere for me. I think I played it on a kind of a podcast recommendation from a podcast I listened to. If it wasn't for Control, it would be my game of the year for sure. Um, it's just really really good. It's very just kind of like Control. Everything about it is just, you know, almost perfect. The combat is very good. The story and the vibe and that world that you're in is all very good. It really does evoke that classic Zelda kind of discovery and exploration. Boss battles are hard. Like, it's one of those games like when you beat a boss or you beat an area, you're like, man, I'm fucking good. I'm a good video game man. I am good at this
I'm a
shit.
good
I
video
am the
game
man.
man.
Yep, I'm good at this, you know. And it does, I mean, that's a good feeling. Like, it does a good job of making you like feel like you pulled some shit off. Like you know, you beat something you probably shouldn't have, you know, the first time. Um, just everything about it. Uh, I don't know what more I could say about it,
Hmm.
other than it. If you like that type of action adventure, kind of isometric Zelda, kind of classic Zelda, Link to the Past style games, you should absolutely play Death's Door. It's got a great story, a great art style, great vibe. Uh, it does kind of it's somewhat lighthearted in a sense, and then gets like super deep, in certain parts with kind of the themes it's trying to get across to you. It deals a lot with death and a lot with kind of sacrifice, and it's very some of that stuff kind of hits out of nowhere a little bit.
Hmm.
Man, this fucking game, I'm just this little crow, man. I don't know. That game just hit me, and I that was another one of those, like, I could not put it down. I could not stop playing it. You know, as soon as I got my kids to bed, I'm running downstairs. I just want to play it, and it's definitely one of those games that I wish I could go back and experience again for the first time.
Wow.
And you know, because I feel like if I went back to it now, it would still be fun. But like that initial kind of discovery of, oh man, there's something going on here. Like, this isn't just some random Steam game. Like,
Hmm.
there's something here for sure.
Yeah, I plan on playing this in January. It's on sale right now. I haven't bought it yet, but I think it's only $15. And I yeah, January's a little light.
Yeah.
There's a Pokemon game coming out that I'm just casually watching. I'm just wondering, like, you know,
Which
this.
one is that? Is that Arceus?
Yeah, it's the Breath of the Wild style
Man,
looking
that
game.
that looks so bad.
It looks weird,
Every
doesn't
time
it?
every time I see a screenshot for that, it's like they took Breath of the Wild and like unrested it to 480p
Mm-hmm.
and like then upscaled it, like stretched it out in Photoshop. Like, I don't know why it looks so bad.
It. I'm watching it. I'm just watching it. I'm not excited about it. I'm just like, I'm wondering how it's going to land.
Right.
And it would be a game that it would be played with my son, you know, who's like a big Pokemon fan. Not that I'm
I mean,
not, but
that's been like the I can remember like being a teenager
in wanting
with like
that.
with like my little brother who wasn't even a teenager yet. He was probably 10, and like reading like video game magazines about like, oh, what would an open world Pokemon be?
Yeah.
And like, here we are. I'm in my mid 30s, and like they're gonna make this game, and it looks like shit,
Bad. Yeah.
like bad. I, I don't get it.
Do you see
Like,
it
that
coming
seems like
out,
such an easy.
or you think they'll push it?
No, it'll come out. I mean, I think that thing will sell like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't. That seems like such a slam dunk, easy thing to do, and they're somehow messing it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, it's not that it had to be anything much different than what all those games already are.
Right.
Like, just make it 3D and like fully 3D. I don't know. That
Yeah.
that is a weird thing.
Yeah. I want to finish Firewatch and the Gunk, and then I will play Death's Door.
Oh,
So
can't wait.
yeah, we'll talk about it. It'll definitely get brought up on future podcasts. I don't have a lot to say about Wildermyth. I've talked about it quite a bit on the show, but it is a tabletop style RPG. Think of, you know, Dungeons and Dragons style. I am building up a party, recruiting They all have like a procedurally generated story they're telling, but just how well all of that melds together, building relationships between characters. I've played one campaign, so it's broken up in like 3 or 4 chapters, and each chapter takes about an hour and a half. So I've probably played 6 7 hours of this game and completed a campaign. What's cool though is the decisions I've made are carrying over to this next campaign. So say I had a guy and a girl in a relationship and they created a a baby. It could be this next campaign is a mix of those two, and you're playing as the kid, as like a teenager or as a warrior or something, 20 years in the future or something. And it's just really cool, like how it's going to keep building on that. Um,
Yeah, I didn't
I
really know anything about this game. I'm looking at some of the art now. It looks like almost like a pop-up book,
mm-hmm.
like kind of very artsy, very like children's pop-up book
Yeah,
looking stuff, which looks
yeah,
actually pretty cool.
yeah. It's and it might have co-op. I would tell you you should check it out because like I know you can see my screen here. And so
Yeah.
it's just a grid based system, if you would think of like Final Fantasy Tactics. And it's not super challenging.
Who are you
Um,
talking to?
Not you, listener, trying to understand what this looks like.
Talking to me?
Um, but like there's some cool things you can do. So like in this screenshot here, you'll see that there's rocks around. You can have a character that can like lock onto those rocks and then use abilities from them. So like they could break the wall and maybe a rock will like go across a lane, so it could
Oh, okay.
damage characters through that lane. Um, wow, I am talking about this game, realizing I completely forgot about Divinity. I gotta add this to the list. We're gonna have 16 games to
No.
talk about. We have to make it even. Divinity is getting added to the list. I don't know how the hell I forgot about that, but
You forgot another one too.
what's that?
The Forgotten City.
Oh shit. Okay, so that's
I forgot that
Wildermyth.
one too.
Wildermyth is definitely one I'm gonna go back to and play as well because that was really fun. Um, if I think if I was doing a top five, Wildermyth would probably have been on there. Um, the only reason I'm not playing it more is because I'm trying to get through Guardians and the couple other games that are on my plate. But I will definitely play this more in 2022.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Um, I realized I forgot one too. Forza Horizon 5.
Oh shit.
That's a good one. I'm not going to talk any more about it.
Okay.
Other than
Really good one.
it is a really good racing game. If you like racing games, you should play that game. It's a kind of arcadey, slightly leaning more towards simulation type of game. That's what the Horizon games are.
What
It's
if
fun.
what if I
Play that.
haven't played a racing game?
You'll be fine. It throws you in and it just puts it Assassin's Creeds you and just puts 5,000 things on the open world map and you just drive to them.
Okay.
Or you can't, or you don't, and you just drive around and
Yeah.
drive down an airport strip and jump off a thing. And see
Okay.
how far you can go.
All right.
Yeah, just do that over and over.
And that might be a good
Great.
game to push my computer on and see how it handles.
Yeah, that game. Yeah, that game definitely looks very pretty on a good PC.
Let's talk about Forgotten
Um,
City then a little bit.
okay, okay. So that is the time loop. Started as a Skyrim mod, made by a shit. Is he Australian or New Zealand? That will offend people. He is either from New Zealand or Australia. He was a lawyer, and
That's right.
made this Skyrim mod. It came out, years ago, and then eventually got convinced to quit his lawyer job and make this into a full game in Unreal Engine. And wow, it is a very good game.
Oh yeah.
Again, time loop game. It's kind of set in ancient Rome, like in an underground city that kind of Groundhog Days
Mm-hmm.
over and over again, and you're kind of coming in from the outside world, which is pretty funny. I think I think the thing that I liked about that game the most was just how kind of compact and tight it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like that city is not very big, but it's a decent size,
Yeah.
and just everything in it is it's just very high quality. It looks very good. The voice acting is good.
Yeah.
Um, the story is very good. Just everything about it, and kind of the different ways that it can unfold. Um, you and I actually got the same ending, oddly enough.
Yeah.
But there's a
Two.
whole other part of that game that neither one of us got to see that we could go back and see.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of the way it handles some of the repetitiveness of the days of starting the day over, and yeah, I like that game quite a bit.
Yeah, I did too. And I do want to go.
Another great Game Pass game. Like,
Yep.
wouldn't have played that game if it wasn't on Game Pass.
Nope, probably not. Yeah, I want to go back and see what those other endings are, especially that you and I both got two. I wish that wouldn't have happened, but
And it's weird because we got there in different ways.
and we didn't. And I wasn't. I didn't think I was stumbling to an ending. I thought I was wrapping up a story arc, not the story arc that ended up closing everything out. So. Okay. Let me just cover Divinity here for a minute. I've talked enough about this game on past podcasts, so if you want to like hear my thoughts, just look up any of our past podcasts. If I tagged Divinity, and I probably talked way too much about it. That game is probably the best RPG, the best systems game that I've played. It is really cool to be. I was a healer, I was a hydrosophist, and I had a little bit of necromancer in me. So you get free range to build your character out however you want. While we were playing it, we liked the idea of creating 4 summoners, because being able to summon these massive beasts, it just changes things. But if we had 4 of them, and then, you had a summoner that was a healer, a summoner that was a necromancer, a summoner that was like a ranged attacker, which we had one of those. It would just, that game would be played a lot differently and how it would work. So I was a hydrosophist, which means I played a lot with water. And what I could do is I could just make the battlefield rain, which I could then cast buffs on my characters or on my teammates. So I played this with 2 other people to like help them. If I heal them and they're standing in water, they get, a couple hundred extra HP. But then if I attack enemies, I can freeze them. I can attack them once and chill them, and then I can attack them again with a water spell, and it'll freeze them. And then they're just fucked for like 2 turns. Like they can't do anything, That just the amount of variety that you can approach each fight. And honestly, like you played a little bit of the beginning when we were on the boat. Out of the gate, you have to strategize. The game is not easy. Like you can't just like barrel through that game. Like you were strategizing every fight, because they're going to throw so many different variables at you, and if you don't have like a grasp on how you can manipulate your spells with the world around you, like you're going to have a hard time with this game. So good. You could look up like what's the top co-op game, and Divinity is frequently number 1. It's just one of the funnest games that you can play if you get a group of people that are in the right mindset and are open to play a game that is like a Dungeons and Dragons style game. There's nothing better out there. Like Larian Studios just fucking killed it with Original Sin 2. So it's a great game. I don't know if I'll play it again, just because
When does Baldur's Gate 3 come out?
it's supposed to be this year. So it's supposed to be last year, but it's still in early access. I'm sorry. 2020. I'm already in 2022. It's supposed to be this year, 2022. It's supposed to come out in 2021, but COVID and stuff, they've done a lot to that game. I know like a good chunk of it is out there for you to play in early
Mm.
access. So really fun. And they seem like they're doing good things with Baldur's Gate. So such a good game. It's so good. All right, what else we have on here?
Okay, we got another COVID quarantine game.
I want to know about this.
Deathloop, the newest Arcane Studios game, makers of such games as Dishonored, Dishonored 2, and Prey. All games that I've started and not finished. Um, Deathloop is very much another Arcane game, and to me that means it's an immersive sim. Um, it it is sort of in the same boat as Control, where it's a very detailed, very rich world that you're kind of playing in, and a lot of kind of world building storytelling. But I feel like those games are the previous games, especially the Dishonored games, are a lot more about stealth than they are like pure combat. But there are some people that play those as like straight up combat games. This game is definitely more of a shooter, I would say,
Mm.
than like Dishonored is, in my opinion, having not finished Dishonored or being any kind of expert on Dishonored. Um, but it gives you a ton of guns. Deathloop gives you a ton of guns, and it is a time loop game. Um, the kind of conceit of that game is you wake up on a beach and you kind of Bill Murray your way through a couple of days, Groundhog Day style, and you're trying to break the time loop. That's what you're trying to do, and there's all these people that are kind of there trying to stop you, and you're basically on this like uh, Elon Musk has like bought an island, and he has set up this time loop thing, and they're just living. These people are just living the same day over and over again, and only you and one other person can remember things from day to day. And that person
Oh.
is kind of the main protagonist that's kind of trying to keep you from breaking the loop. Um, and in order to break the loop, you have to kill these seven visionaries, and
Mm.
they're like seven important people on the island. And the way that you do that, there are four maps in the game, and then there are four time periods for each map. So there's really 16 variations of all the maps. Okay, and it's very much one of those games where, okay, this visionary goes and does this at night on this level, so I need to go there and I need to try to sabotage something to get them to go to this other place in the morning, so they'll be in the same level at the same time with this other person, so I can kill both of them at one time. And so you need to kill all seven of these visionaries in one loop, in one day. So you only get four chances: morning,
Mm-hmm.
noon, afternoon, and evening, to kind of make this happen. And so the game is just you doing multiple runs over and over and over again to try to piece together enough like detective info to figure out what do I need to do to get all these people where I need them to be to kill them in one run. And there is only one way to do it.
Okay.
So it is not like there's like 100 different ways to do it. There is one way that you can accomplish this.
You figured
Um,
this out organically playing it.
it does a very good job of it has this whole screen where it keeps track of all your leads, and it literally just like as you finish out a lead like a mission, it'll tell you like, okay, this person is going to be here with this person, like this is what
Mm.
you're trying to do. um, it does a pretty good job of kind of setting that up for you. um,
You didn't? Did you ever have to look up anything?
um, I don't think so.
Okay.
um, I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think I did with that game. um, there's the combat is kind of what makes that game, and I think it's what makes a lot of their other games like Dishonored. I really like, excuse me, stealth games. You can play this game really stealthily. You get a bunch of powers. I mean, and abilities. You can kind of do the little blink thing where you kind of can teleport across a short
Mm.
distance. You get like an invisibility thing. You get like a power buff ability. There's all these different abilities that you get from the visionaries. They have these powers called slabs that you can get from them. So as you kind of kill them on your, your runs up to your final run, you can get these abilities and upgrade them, and all this stuff. The other cool thing is as you kill these visionaries and as you kind of do things within the level, you get this currency called residuum, and each run you don't necessarily keep everything that you find, like a weapon, like a special weapon, like it has weapon rarity, like purple, orange, blue, all the whole thing. You might find like a purple gun, and if I want to have that in my next run, like all my runs for good, like I need to buy it. Like I need to buy it
Oh.
with the residuum and like kind of keep it for the runs. And you can like sacrifice different weapons that you don't want. So there's kind of this like kind of building kind of a weapon and like tool cache of
Hmm.
all these things that you like to use to keep on your runs, which is pretty important early on. But the story is really good. The characters are definitely good. But the combat and the sandbox kind of immersive sim nature of it is why I like it so much. It just kind of puts you in these levels, and you can kind of deal with these situations kind of however you want. If you want to run in loud and just start blasting people's faces off, you can. You can sneak through the whole thing probably without killing hardly anybody. You can like there's like turrets and stuff that you can hack, and it's just a really good arcade game. I think the thing that I like about it more than I don't like about their other games is it doesn't feel like there's like a big penalty for dying or like a big penalty for experimenting. Like in most games, you try to do something crazy and you get, robbed back to a checkpoint. Like in this, you just loop again. You just okay, I'm gonna go do it again. That didn't work, and I don't know. I felt like that was part of the reason why I liked it so much. But it is really good. You should definitely give it a go if you like and want to maybe dip your toe into their games for sure.
That's going to come to Game Pass at some point, right?
I think it has to because it's a Bethesda game,
Right.
technically. Yeah.
So once
Yeah.
they're done with their year or whatever exclusivity, that'll
Yep.
drop on Game Pass. So
Yep.
it's definitely going to get a lot more buzz. Not that it hasn't gotten a lot of buzz. I've seen ads for Deathloop all over the place lately. Seems like so.
Yep.
But it's
Very
just
good.
17 million people will have access to it for free. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, we got 2 games here left. What do you want to talk about?
Oh boy, let's talk about Halo. Tell me what you thought about Halo. I don't think we've really talked about this since you beat it.
I really like Halo. I
Campaign.
I've played 3 in ODST, the campaigns. And I remember really, really liking 3, loving ODST. Halo Infinite starts out a little slow. The first couple hours, we streamed it together, and then it opened up, but we had to shut the stream down. So when I finally sat down, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna barrel through. I wasn't even paying attention to the story because I watched it with you. So it's just like, okay, let's just get through this. And then it opens up, and it's like, okay, like go here, like just like make your way to this or whatever, and take out this tower. But while you're doing this, we're gonna start just sporadically giving you some stuff to do throughout the world. The way that you traverse this world and the jankiness of playing an open world game, they all have their
Yeah.
jankiness. I just thought it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I summoned a warthog on a sergeant and just watched
Yeah.
him die. And it's just like, well, he didn't even jump out of the way. He just looked up and watched it fall on his face, and it was just a very comical moment. But there was several instances in this game where I was just like, I didn't have a vehicle and I didn't care. I just
Right.
grapple shot everywhere, and it was
Yep.
just so good. Everything about Halo Infinite feels just perfect. It just feels really fun to play. It's hard. I had a hard time getting through it. I died a lot, but I have not played a shooter in a long time. I just felt like I was getting better as I played it. The last about 3 hours of that game, I thought were not great.
No, it drags. It definitely drags there toward
Yeah.
the end, for sure. Yeah,
Yes.
it goes.
It just felt like I made that comment about Guardians where the environments felt really unique. Halo, it was just like, go down this hallway, do this thing. Okay, now we're going to vary, and it's the same hallway. Go down the same hallway, and it's going to open up. And then, like, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but they actually have you go through training. And I was just like, what the when so my son played a section, just a really small section of this game without me. Like, I went and took a shower and I saw an achievement pop on my phone, and I was just like, what, hey, what happened? Did you, like, I don't know the story because I only played 3 in ODST and a little bit of Reach. But he was just like, I can't tell you. You're just gonna have to play it. And I was like, I can't go back and play it. That's not how this game works. I'd have to restart the game, and I'm not doing that at this point. And I think he was just in his sweet way, just being like, I don't fucking know, Dad. I just know that I shot the thing and it just went forward.
Right.
That middle is some of the funnest game I played this year. That came out in 2021. It just feels really good. There was a moment where I summoned a warthog and 3 people jumped in this warthog, and those things are hard to control.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrecked it almost instantly, and they were just fist pumping, just so excited to be with the chief, and I just wrecked us. And there was some beauty to that, where it was like, I'm here to meet my hero, and then he just immediately wrecks the car. It was just so funny. I summoned
Man, I
up.
wish you would have. I wish you would have found the skull that unlocks the extra like voiceover work, the extra voice lines that are like special. The Marines and like all the grunts and the jackals, they talk so much shit.
They do
You have
already. I'm surprised that
that
they.
skull on. Oh man, it's hilarious.
Uh,
There's so many funny things in there. It's funny. You'll like sometimes in the game when you have that skull on and you're sneaking up like on grunts, um, like or I mean, it might have been one of those like little broadcast towers I came across where the grunts are talking like propaganda.
yeah.
And like I walked up on it and the grunts going like "Dun, dun, 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 dun."
And that's with the skull.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
the skull turned that on, and then he's like, "Fuck, I hate this music. This music sucks," you know. And yeah, I mean, just there's a ton of great little voice lines in there when you find that skull. But man, yeah, that grappling hook makes that whole game.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you are.
I can't go
motherfucking
back now.
stopping.
There was a part of me that was like, I want to go back and play the Master Chief Collection. Like, there's a story here, and I'm not understanding it. I didn't even know. Like, I knew Cortana was.
Story's real bad. Story's real bad.
Yeah, okay. Should I read The Fall of Reach?
Yes.
Okay, because I've heard that was just a good standalone book. Like, the story it tells us.
There's 3 of those books. Boy, I'll have to get.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, there are also like Shadow of Mordor style bosses that are just sprinkled throughout the map. Not that it's not the system where they're getting stronger. Dude, I summoned I think they're called a Reaper. What's the big, or Banshee? What's the big fucking tanks that you can drive?
Oh, the Scorpion.
Scorpion. I summoned a Scorpion, and very slowly, because you can barely get this this thing through some of the sections of this map. Rolled up to one of those like towel, blah blah blah, like one of the main bosses, and 2-shot him. And it was just like, weapon was just like, great job, Chief, And I was like, that is just so funny. that they just gave me the ability to do that. Like that was supposed, because some of those fights are hard, you know, like they're, you know,
Oh
like
yeah.
when they have the hammers and stuff and they're like lunging at you from halfway across the map. It's like,
That was my favorite part of that game is it's just a bunch of little Halo moments.
yeah,
You know, and you come grappling in there like some crazy motherfucker,
like Indiana
and you
Jones and
and you're just sniping dudes. Like there was so many moments in that game where I was like slamming the Nvidia broadcast, like record that. Like that was fucking sweet what I just did there.
yeah.
Like I just grappled in, freaking threw a grenade and like no scoped this jackal and then flipped around and then grappled another guy and like stuck him and then threw a fusion coil at this other thing and you
Oh,
know
those
just
fusion
all
coils.
all that stuff was great.
I didn't
And
really
then
start using those till the end. You know, like I
yeah,
was shooting them. I was just
yeah,
like using them as exploding barrels. And then when I discovered that you can like grapple them and grab them and throw them, it was just like, dude,
yep.
this is makes you play the game so differently. Like how well
Yeah.
that
And
is.
I think the other thing that that game does, I think outside of the grappling hook, the best thing that game does is how generous it is with weapons.
Mm-hmm.
There are rocket launchers and sniper rifles and weapons everywhere and ammo everywhere. I mean, I was always finding stuff, you know, and it wasn't some like unique thing to find like a rocket launcher. Like they're just all
Right.
over the fucking.
Yeah.
Um, and one of my favorite things to do was to get the Razorback, which is the Warthog without the gun on it. You
Mm-hmm.
just fit a bunch of dudes in, and filling it completely up with soldiers, and then going to one of those like targets, those like Shadow of Mordor style targets, and just rolling in there with like 5 Marines and just flipping that thing over, and then they come out and they just start messing dudes up because you can upgrade them and like start giving them shotguns and
Yeah.
rocket launchers, and I mean they just clear that shit out. Like you don't have to do nothing. They just clear that thing out in like 5 seconds. Um,
Wow.
Man, it is. Yeah, and eventually you upgrade that grappling hook where you can literally just scale a sheer
Yeah.
wall. You just keep going, and it's man, that it is really really good.
Yeah.
It is
Loved
really
it.
good. The story sucks, but hopefully now that they've got the gameplay down, they can iterate on this gameplay and maybe they can make a cohesive story.
Was
That
it was it the
somebody,
movie Broken Lizard who did like Super Troopers and stuff? So they have this movie called Beer Fest where one of the guys he dies. He's a beloved character, and like halfway through the story he dies, and it just like doesn't make sense. But then his long lost brother comes, looks just like him. It's the same actor, looks just like him, talks just like him, and he's just like, I'm just here to honor him. But and you can call me the same name even. That's what they did with fucking Cortana and Weapon.
yeah, 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 yeah,
It was just like when they went side by side. Well, sorry, spoiler alert. Like, you know, there's you're gonna see some interaction. It's just like that's the same. It's the same thing because I knew Cortana went rogue only because of a podcast I listened to where they were kind of trying to talk about the story, and I just didn't understand. I just know at some
yeah,
point she went bad, and that was like your your AI love. So
yeah. Fall of Reach is the first book. You should
okay,
definitely read that book. It explains the whole beginning of that universe.
cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
I really liked Halo. That was like one of my favorite games I played this year. And it's the middle section of that game, the open world. I just want more of that. So as they add on, I know this is the blueprint. I want less of what I want less of classic Halo, and I just want open world shit.
Yep.
And don't ever take their grapple hook away. Like
Right.
that's here to stay. It has
Gotta
to.
stay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. For sure. For sure.
Okay. We got one more game that we have talked to death about, so I don't know how much you want to get into this. Um, Inscryption, it's just such a unique experience. You know, they you could have just sold that as a card game and probably been fine. It would have probably got forgotten, but the actual game of it is it's fun to play. The
Yeah.
sacrificing cards. I don't know
The
how to play.
first word.
I don't know how to play Magic the Gathering, but apparently that is a Magic the Gathering thing, is to sacrifice cards to build up other cards, which I guess you're doing in Pokemon. You're evolving your Pokemon. You're getting rid of that. So it's kind of that same core idea. But how this does it is just it's just a little different, where you can bank things to then like unleash like your card that you want to play.
Yeah, that first 4 hours of that game, 3 4 hours of that game in the cabin is very very good.
Yeah.
Um, I think other than the puzzles are pretty meh.
Just yeah.
You just kind of force your way through them. They're not all that interesting, honestly.
No.
But the card game, yeah, it was really good. That's kind of a game of thirds. You have that first third, the middle third, and then the last third. Definitely enjoyed that first third more.
Oh yeah.
The second third was okay, and the last third is just like I'm ready to be done.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta see what's fucking going on here. But what a weird game. I guess it had an ARG, like a real world like thing that people were digging into that the developer did. That like kind of answers a lot of the questions that maybe you might have at the end of that game. Boy, yeah. Such a weird game. Weird game.
Yeah, I
Real
think
leshy.
I think episode 36 we kind of spoiled it. I think we ended up kind of breaking that down a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, that just the whole reveal of yes, Leshy, and then like understanding that there are these multiple characters that you're kind of interacting with.
I think after that reveal, like after the cabin, and after you figure out like what's going on, and you figure out like what's happening, like after that, all the game parts just don't like stick.
Right.
Like they're just not all the way there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just don't stick that landing. You know, to match up with like what it's revealed.
Right. Yeah, I think I don't know. Like, yes, I agree with you. I liked the middle section better than the ending. I just thought as the game goes, it kind of just gets a little worse.
Yep.
But it's all that ancillary stuff. It's the FMV. It's just the weird shit that happens. It's looking at your fucking system. Just there's so much stuff that happened
Yeah.
that is just like, I love this. If I would have played this alone, I don't know if I would have the same reaction to it.
Yeah, I honestly, we played it beginning all the way through on stream,
Mm-hmm.
and you had kind of sat in on I had started it. I'd gotten like literally 4 hours into it, and
That
it
was
like,
probably a hard stream to watch because you're just like, because I wanted to play it and you knew that. So then you were like, okay, well, you got to look
Right.
away at this part
right,
here.
yeah,
You can't.
yeah. Like, yeah, I mean that 4 hours that I played by myself and then streamed, kind of an hour of it, kind of after that, I was kind of done with it after that. I hadn't gotten past that first third and was kind of running into a wall with it. And
Yeah.
you're like, I want to play this game. Like, well, let's just start over. Let's start over, and you can see the whole thing, and we'll play through it. And I'm really glad that we did that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that was. I had a blast with it. I thought it really stuck out to me. You know, all of these games, these 17, 18 games we have on here, it's unfortunate that we missed out on some PlayStation stuff, so neither of us have a PlayStation. I really have my hopes set that their Game Pass equivalent turns into something that I can play on PC. I'm open to stream as long as it works. I know PlayStation Now, you're streaming those games and it's not the best. But I played Halo. I played Like a Dragon. Sections of that game, I just streamed it. And it was fine. It's not 1440, but it looked good. And it played quite well. So, if Sony does it and they can do it right, I would love to be able to play I want to play Ratchet and Clank. God,
Yeah.
I loved those games, but I just don't have access to play them. So, and when they finally release Horizon Forbidden West, I want to play that game. But I don't have a desire now with this gaming computer to buy a PlayStation. I don't see me doing that. So
Yeah, and I don't know if I see PlayStation releasing some of those games day and date. I don't know if they've announced that they're going to
yeah.
release them on PS5 and PC the same day.
No, I don't think it'd be a day and date thing. I'm just curious, like how much they're gonna lean into, because I know they've dropped some stuff like what they're gonna do, but I just want to know, like, could I buy it? Could like my PlayStation account buy it, but then have access to play it on PC? Like, even if you're still going to charge me full price, are you gonna give me that ability to do that?
Right.
Like, will
Yeah.
you have a
Yeah.
streaming service that allow me to
Yeah.
do that?
We'll see.
Yeah. So yeah, this was a fun year. There's a lot that I missed out on. I think if you told me the one to play is Deathloop, or no, sorry, Death's Door, I'll check that out in January, and maybe I'll
Yeah,
stream
for
some of
sure.
that. But yeah, it's a lot of games, a lot of fun
A lot of
stuff we
games,
played this
man.
man. Between 2020, which I didn't really play a whole lot, and then this year, which I've played man, I've played a lot of games this year. It was definitely definitely a lot. It was a good year, good year for gaming. So let's send this home. Thank you all so much for watching, listening, streaming this tonight. If you want to send us an email, you can send that to emails@bitpunch.tech. You can check out our website at bitpunch.tech, which is where we host our podcast here. You can follow us here on Twitch at BitPunch. You can follow us on Twitter at BitPunch. You can check out our archive content. Most of it gets archived to YouTube at /user/BitPunch. Then you can check out our newsletter, our monthly newsletter that gets emailed out at the end of the month at bitpunch.substack.com. All of our 2021 favorites are going to be on the latest newsletter that comes out on New Year's Eve. So make sure you subscribe and get that delivered to your inbox. So yes, all of these links can be found on our website at bitpunch.tech.
Man, what a year.
Yeah.
I mean, we started streaming kind of mid-year. I want to say I'm kind of doing some looking here. It looks like May 28th was the first upload to the BitPunch YouTube channel.
May 28th.
That
What was it?
It was Subnautica. It was that test
Oh,
that I did of
right.
Subnautica, trying to figure out if it would work or not.
Yeah. And it worked great.
And it did. It worked
Did,
great.
did it break at the very end or something? We were like, well, this is a good place to stop or something like that. It started
Yeah,
hitching or something. I can't remember.
it probably did because I was basically streaming on like the rubber bands and duct tape and
Yeah.
stacks of cards, But yeah, we uploaded that first video on May 28th. How many videos did we make this year, Michael? Take a guess.
75.
And from May 28th, so essentially June 1st, we uploaded 180 videos.
God. How many of those are Yakuza and Final Fantasy?
178. Wait, how many episodes of Resident Evil 7 are there? Take 8 episodes of Resident Evil 7 minus 180. That's
Yeah, there we go. That's
yeah,
funny.
180 videos in
Wow.
6 months. That is a
Well, when I
feat.
was playing in the mornings, man, I was churning out that stuff, but
Yeah. Yeah. What a
then I realized this might be a little unhealthy. So I should probably not wake up and as my coffee is dripping,
yeah,
set up streaming. So
180 videos and probably somewhere between 8 and 9, maybe 10 full playthroughs of games. I mean, between the Yakuzas and the Final Fantasies, that's 10. Resident Evil,
Inscryption.
Outer Worlds, Inscryption. Um,
Oh man, you
going,
got through all of Outer Worlds.
yeah, all of Outer Worlds.
Wow.
I didn't talk about that.
Nope.
Shit. Uh, yeah, man. I mean, I remember when we started, and we kind of figured out this was gonna work, and I remember saying to you in like a real like engineer analyst rich way, like I think if we can do 60 videos this year, by the end of the year, I'll feel pretty good. And we more than doubled that. That is insane.
Wow.
That we did that much. And we're on episode 37 of this podcast.
I know.
We're streaming to Twitch every week. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of the small part that I've had in creating all this content.
Yeah,
we have a crap ton of content.
It's been fun too. I wasn't for sure at first. I was just like, man, I don't know about this. Like, you're throwing all these ideas. I've pushed the idea of the podcast away for years. It's like, come on, man. It's like, okay, and then it's like, oh shit, this is actually like really, really fun. So
yeah.
But yeah, so we've we'll talk about man, we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So I think our next episode will probably just be us trying to catch up. But then I think maybe towards the back half of January, I wouldn't mind talking about some stuff we want to play in 2022 and some plans and stuff. I think that would be cool. So look forward to that. But yeah, this first episode, my gosh, dude, we've got from Spider-Man to Hawkeye to watched movies, watched a lot of
The Witcher.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, all of The Witcher.
All The Witcher. You need to watch The Witcher.
Oh, we're done with it.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah, we finished it.
All right.
I was expecting more than 8 episodes, but yeah, we got
that
through
seems
it.
to be the number. Yeah. Did you finish Wheel of Time?
No.
Oh man.
And it's we'll see.
That last episode's a dumpster fire.
Like, is it not getting any better?
It's 8 episodes too. Episode 7 is like fucking awesome.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Compared to episode 7 is compared to all the others, and then the last episode just totally like shits the bed. It is kind of amazing to watch though.
Okay. Yeah. All right, I'll get through it. Yeah. Gosh, we started Succession. Oh boy, that's a hell of a show. And we're probably going to go watch an episode right now, so all right, well, thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
And we will be back in a couple weeks. Happy New Year. See you all. Have a good night.
Bye.